Covert pant. So this pant is basically Helikon's answer to the desire to have more of a low-profile tactical pant. Now, Helikon, just to give a little bit of a brief history, Helikon has been around for quite a while. They really got their start getting military surplus stuff in around the time of the fall of the Berlin Wall, and you know, military surplus gear was a big thing, so they got their start there, and then it kind of grew from military surplus to kind of manufacturing their own stuff that's kind of inspired by tactical gear, military surplus stuff around the world. They're based in Poland, and they've recently, within the last decade, they've been in the U.S. and they've kind of tried to get themselves a foothold for the market here, and they do everything from tactical gear, outdoor gear. I mean, they make pretty much everything, and everything is sold on militaryrfirst.com. They have a full line of product, and they do a good job of keeping a good inventory of the different clothing and the sizes and everything like that. So Helikon is in the U.S. and it is available, and the good thing is that pretty much everything from Military First you get free shipping with. It, though it does come from, these pants did come from the UK, so there was import, but it did not take that long. So if you want expedited shipping, you pay a little bit more, but it's really not that much. So anyways, these pants are, the purpose behind them is basically to get, as the name kind of implies, it's a covert tactical pant, right? So typically what you're going to see with tactical pants, it's like cargo pockets and stuff like that. They can be pretty stiff with a ripstop material and stuff like that. So it's pretty durable. The problem is you're not really getting very much mobility. You're getting you know, storage space and stuff like that. It can be pretty efficient and stuff, but it is kind of a high profile for people that are wearing them out in public. If you know what to look for, you're going to notice somebody that's dressing tactical or whatever. So people like security personnel that are doing like bodyguard duty, or even people that may work like in the FBI or in a police department where you're a detective, if your policy allows, these might not be a bad option because you're getting something that has cargo pockets. It can still look professional. This is a khaki color, so it can kind of give the appearance at a distance from slacks, kind of like women actually have leggings that look like jeans. So anyways, this can actually be a good option for having a professional look and kind of keeping a low profile at the same time. So anyways, these go for about $75 on Military First. Some places you'll get them for a couple dollars less. You can even get it on Helikon's website, which I'll link down in the description below, but you're not really going to get that great of a deal because you got to pay for shipping, so that's kind of unfortunate. So this does come in 7 colors. Helikon does have their own color, adaptive green, which is basically like a mix between coyote and OD green, which is supposed to kind of blend in with either arid environments like brown environments and also OD. So it's supposed to be that nice fine medium where it kind of tricks the eye. I still have yet to test that, but anyways, I believe that's one of the colors that is available for this pant. So anyways, other than the purpose, let's go over the materials real quick. So the materials on here, it's nylon and spandex. It's about 90% nylon and 10% spandex. And what you're going to notice with this is the entire pant, all the way around, even the pockets actually have a stretching characteristic to them, which is kind of interesting. And we're going to get to the pockets and everything else. Even the belt loops have a slight, you know, give to them, mostly because of the waistband material has a little bit of give, a little bit of stretch to them. But the belt loops are pretty much for like 1.5 inch belts. But anyways, it's like a 4-way elastic and it's completely flexible. So this stuff, it's almost like you have the flexibility of almost like being naked from my experience. So it has a 4-way stretch, and it also has it's Teflon coated, so it's it's pretty good for all year round. So if you're out in the rain or whatever, I wouldn't say you're going to roll around in the mud and not get wet. And you know, washing this several times over and over again, it can compromise the material, but nylon in general is pretty forgiving. However, spandex, if it stretches a lot, it can start giving a little bit. So maybe the nylon can extend that life because nylon's pretty durable. So anyways, let's go over to get this on the table and go over the pockets and some of the designs and kind of discuss my experience with this pant. First thing I want to start off with is looking at the stitching of this pant. Now, being that it's mixed with spandex, a lot of people would assume that it's going to relieve the stitching a bit and it's going to take stretch off of it. That is true, but over time it can start wearing at it, and there are stress points. Like there is a stress point here, so it is double stitched, and there's a good amount of spacing to distribute the load from the stitching. It's pretty nice and closely stitched. And also you have a gusseted crotch, and the gusset here actually goes all the way down to about the knee area. So if you can see that there, that's quite generous. And it's double stitched as well, so it's very durable, and this gives you a great amount of flexibility. So it's still stretching, and you know, it doesn't threaten to give out. So on the back end here, there isn't any kind of support here for, you know, when you're squatting down. However, from what I've noticed, it's basically separated out. So you have different panels here, so you get your stretch right here, and the stitching here is single. So it's basically taking from the gusset to the back area here. It's basically stretching out the or distributing the load, so to speak. So instead of just being a full wraparound and meeting at the gusset like some tactical pants, it's actually split. So you have the front part and the back part. Now, personally, I would be happy to see kind of a reinforcement in this area, because this is a stretch point for my pants, especially after sitting, but it is good that it is double stitched. So basically from there we can move down, and around the knee area where the gusset ends is you have another stitch starting at the back. So this front part runs all the way down in the front, which is okay, because the knee area, if this stitching was to go across all the way, it could prevent a friction point for your knee, creating, you know, pretty uncomfortable circumstances if you're kneeling or just moving around a lot. So this is actually a nice touch, but it does extend out around this area to kind of give it a good reinforcement. And from there you have a separate area that is basically supporting the back of the leg. Now this area right here, if they had a good experience with tactical pants before, I think that I think they could break away from the elastic in this leg area in the back. And you know, if you've worn any tactical pants, you typically want a little bit more room, so you kind of go with something that's a little longer in the legs. So when you're kneeling down, you're not exposing your socks, you're not flooding. So basically you can end up stepping on your leg, the bottom leg portion here. So I would actually recommend that they reinforce this with kind of a half oval reinforced material here to give it, you know, some reinforcement and keep it from wearing as quickly. That's one thing where there is a big failure on tactical pants, and of course this is singly stitched, so I'm not really a big fan of that. There's a lot of friction happening against the boots and stuff, but you know, it is what it is. So anyways, let's go ahead and move on to here. So as you can see, this actually has 10 belt loops from my count. So you got 4 up here, you got 2 on each side, and then you have 4 in the back. So it's pretty well distributed. Your belt is pretty well distributed. It's grabbing a good hold. You got a good amount of elastic here. And what I've noticed is that there's a little bit of a padding in here, and I've noticed that no matter what I'm doing, squatting or whatever, I'll show a video here. In this video I'm squatting, so I wasn't having any problems with my shirt coming undone. And that's a big problem for a lot of tactical pants, is they'll typically ride down. And I didn't have my pants too tight like I typically have to, but I liked it. So you don't really have any adjustment features except for the spandex in the nylon. And of course you have this Velcro here, so you can cinch it down a good amount, and maybe you'll want to tuck it. And you have a little rubber flap here that is good for grabbing. And it's okay for grabbing. It's a lot better than some of the others that have Velcro on them, but it gives you something to grab onto real quick. So also you have a YKK zipper fly. So you know, a YKK, that's a whole separate discussion on why YKK is a good zipper to have. But anyways, with all that said, now let's move on to the pockets. So there are 3 pockets externally on each side, and then you have 4 pockets internally, 2 on each side. So you have 6 pockets outside, 4 pockets inside, total of 10 pockets. So when you're not getting cargo pockets, they have to make up for it by giving you pockets, you know, on each side and internally. And they have to make up for it by giving you a little bit more room. So as you can see here, there's a reinforcement right here for a knife, and that's actually a pretty good feature, because if you're wearing an outside the waistband holster or even an inside the waistband holster, your clip is probably going to be a little more exposed. So if you pull out a knife, you're probably going to want to be aware of where you're putting your knife to basically prevent bulging. So if you're not carrying a pistol on a certain side and you want to carry your knife instead, or whatever, or maybe you're not carrying a gun, you can have your knife kind of out of the way. This is a pocket that is big enough to carry an AR-15 magazine, almost completely concealed, and also it carries my cell phone and covers it all the way. So my cell phone is about 6.5 inches tall, so it covers it perfectly. Then you have a back pocket here, and you can see from the inside that the back pocket is secured. It is stitched down, so it's nice and secure. And of course it has that spandex basically characteristic, except for the neck. The neck here does not, and it is a little bit reinforced, but not reinforced like this right here to prevent basically the knife clip from damaging it. So the front pocket here is not secure, and you have a generous amount. It goes down pretty far, halfway down the leg. And of course it has the spandex characteristic, except for in the front here or around the neck, but up against the body you do have a little bit of a spandex to it. So, you know, it's not all that bad. So I don't believe this has a Teflon coating on it. This is a little bit more of a rough material. I believe it's just the outside that has the spandex or the Teflon coating, and I believe that's what you're seeing right here, the difference in the textures. So anyways, one other thing to note is that this stitching right here is for the inside pocket, so it's not really covered up like by, you know, the inside folded portion, but that's okay. These pockets are kind of interesting. So as you can see, you have the front here. So I'll just go ahead and adjust this. You have the front here and you have the back. So at your 3 and 9 o'clock positions, you have these bigger pockets. They are stitched down on the back, and they're secured with the back pocket area, or the back pocket area right here. And on the front, it's, you know, loose. This is actually big enough to have a pistol in and of itself. I was able to fit a USP, the trigger guard and the top of the slide fit in this pretty snugly. And you don't really have much of any elastic here. It's just in the waistband, so that's all that's really going to stretch out. And it goes down a good amount. So you're not really going to be carrying a subcompact pistol too easily. So just be aware of that. And you have that on each side. If you're going to be carrying a gun inside here, this is not something you're going to be practicing. You're just going to be shoving it down for concealment, and you're probably not going to be having a good time reholstering it. So anyways, that is what it is, but that's an option for you. And if you're carrying a gun on your hip, obviously you're losing that that storage space. So this is pretty much just for a pistol or something. I wouldn't carry anything, maybe a little bit of cash in here if you want to keep it out of sight and keep it out of your wallet or whatever. And if you're worried about getting mugged, it'll stay in a nice low profile there. But if you're carrying anything that's thick, it's going to bulge out. And it's going to be pretty obvious, especially if you already have something in your pocket already. So, the front pockets here, very useful to me. Very useful. So this isn't really for pistols. You could probably get away with using it for a pistol. It's going to be kind of angled down to where the grip is going to be down into here, and it's going to be hard to grab it. But I find that these are good for spare magazines and lights. With winter coming up, these pants are going to be very useful for my spare magazine, for my full-size pistol, and my light. So my handheld light. Now, the thing about these pockets is you're probably not going to be getting a subcompact magazine in here or be able to draw it too easily, especially a single stack, because you don't really have that much room. Now, if you have something like the Glock 48, I believe, where it's a longer single stack magazine, you'll probably have a little bit of a better chance with that. But typically, full-size double stack magazines are best. However, let me go ahead and roll this footage. So as you saw in that video, this can bulge out a bit, and you know, it doesn't prevent movement. It goes in, so it's going in towards your crotch and staying along the lines of your crotch, so you don't lose mobility with that. I have not had any discomfort except for up here when I have my belt cinched down. It kind of left a little bit of a bruise after having a light that had a really thick bezel on it, and you know, it can leave a little bit of a bruise if you're being harsh with it or cinching it down. But in general, if you have a pretty thin flashlight with a bezel that's equal to the size of the body, you won't really have an issue with it. So, anyways, as you see here, going back over the material, as you see here, this one is 89% nylon and 11% spandex. Online, it's actually showing that it's 91% nylon and 9% spandex. There's a discrepancy there. I think it's actually based on size, because you can actually have material differences based on size. So I don't know what to really think there, but realistically it's not that big of a deal, because the main important thing is that it's made of nylon and spandex. So with all that said, my experience with this, it's very well worth the money. You're going to be looking at about $70, $75. You can get free shipping. But this is a very good pant if you're trying to keep a low profile, and it doesn't really wrinkle very much, being that it's got spandex and nylon. So I like these pants. I think it's an amazing design that Helikon offers at a very good price. I have a lot of respect for this company. Now, granted, this is made in China. It's not cheap at all. It's actually to very strict specifications. Now, if you're wanting something that's made in America, obviously this isn't for you, but I am not seeing any disadvantage here. The quality is very good. They're using the materials that Helikon wants them to use. They're not just throwing a design and saying put it together to China. They're actually keeping a very close eye on the manufacturing, and there was an interview with Helikon a few years ago where they actually discussed how strict they are with the manufacturing and quality control. So they're able to give you very good quality gear at a very affordable price. So I recommend going on militaryfirst.com. I'll leave a link in the description below, and I'll leave a link on Helikon's website and on Military First where you can find these pants. So anyways, let me know what you think in the comments below, and thanks a lot for watching. You guys have a good one.